when I get through to them, and I'm talking not about you guys here who know me and I know you, I'm talking about what's happening in the street, because I take public transport and I go shopping myself alone, so I see what's happening in society. Not at the Hubat Colin, nor at the municipality. There only I hear the stories of all the fights that go on in order to get what you need. It's terrible, isn't it? When I hear these stories, I go like, what are they doing? These places are there to help people. Why do we need to fight for everything? Anyway, so then, you know, I also learned to just be the way I am, because because people feel they can trust you when you're just the way you are. But there is no other country in the world, and I go to many countries, where people, well, there's this really hard shell that you have for being aggressive cracks so easily when you feel that you're not being aggressed, that I don't want anything from you. When they feel I don't want to take anything away from you, not any of your rights, not any of your views, whatever, they totally open up, like nowhere else. The human connection here is very, very easy. It's very easy. Like in no other country, I think. So, and you are champions in helping when need is help, when there's need for help. You're the best. When we had people going crazy in India, in meditation retreats, I only asked Israelis for help. Because they're used to it from the army. When people kind of lose it, they stick to it. And they're not running away when it gets difficult, because it is difficult to look after somebody who loses their mind because they have a lot of energy. So you're the best. Again. As always. Yeah, no, you're really good. You have a lot of self-cherishing. You are not Nix, it's true. But the base is like, your good base is easy to detect. It comes out very, very easy. The moment you don't feel threatened. And that's what you have to train. Not to feel threatened all the time. Not to feel criticized all the time. Not to feel attacked all the time. Or when you feel attacked, you see it, as this lady said, it comes from the ignorance of people. They don't know what's going on in the world. They don't. You see, they see things on TV, and then they see the poor Palestinians. I mean, also, I had a totally different view of what is happening here before I came here. I even said, I can't go to Israel. I'm too pro-Palestinian. I'd just be shouting at these guys and telling them how bad they are. So I had to work with this first. I had to let go of my pro-Palestinian view first. And then I could come here a little bit more balanced. And I came during the second Intifada. It had just started. And so I saw how difficult it is to live in this country. I started to understand why you are the way you are. And then it's okay. You see, this is what we have to learn, to see the cultural background of people, why they are like this. And then we start to see the goodness behind all these behaviors. So then what Swiss people are championing is humility. Being humble. Oh, they're so proud of being humble. It's crazy. But you know, the thing is, they're not really humble. They just think they are. So they use their humility to trick the other person to give them what they want. And they don't see it like that. This is only when you start to go outside the country, you start to see that natural sport of humility. If you're not humble in Switzerland, it's like you're away. This is it. They can't deal with it. They don't know how to deal with it. But it's a false humility, you know? It's this kind of, I give you what I want, but then you have to give me what I want. And if you're not playing that game, then I also don't want to play the game. Okay, so that the view of karma, as we discussed it now, that it needs the view of rebirth, is that clear? Because when you ask me about the Holocaust, of course these Jews have not created that karmic imprint in that life. Of course not. So there must be previous lives. So if you cannot adopt that view of previous lives as humans or as animals, then the view of law of cause and effect does not hold. Because I can see people who are very kind and have really difficult lives, and I can see people who are totally unkind and have everything going good for them. Because what's happening is that in a difficult life, your negative karma from the past is ripening. And if things are going really good, it's your positive karma ripening also from the past. So if you have a really good life, and you just relax, and you just say, oh, how wonderful I am, what is happening? You're just burning up your positive karma that you have created, maybe through a lot of effort. For what? Just to have pleasure. So if you are in a situation where you are at ease financially, time-wise and whatever, put some effort into being of benefit to others so that you can create that situation again. Because, you see, the first thing we learn in Buddhism is how to look after ourselves with this kind of thing about karma, so that we're not coming into situations where we need help. So, but then when we hear about more advanced teachings about how to help others and all this, that we are already okay. Because if you're depressed all the time and you have no money and nobody respects you, and you can't even look after yourself, it's very difficult to try to look after others. And there's so many rich people who they're just having a good life. And that's enough for them. So, because it's not enough for them to be happy, what happens? They need bigger hotels. They need better swimming pools. They need better yachts. They need better cars. They need better clothes. They need better this and better that. And there's no end to it. Because comfort is fine. But it's not happiness. It's just pleasure. And pleasure is not happiness. Not that deep happiness which comes from inside. It's just momentary pleasant feeling. And the pleasant feeling, the feelings or the sensations that we have, they come from positive actions from the past. They have nothing to do with the object outside. But it looks like this. How many of you like Busa Glida? That's all?
They don't know it.
Oh, you need to go there. There's two places you need to go. You need to go to Busa ice cream and you need to go to Delicate.
I need to charge the battery,
okay.
So for a minute.
You need to go to there. So it's fine. It's okay to want it and to have it. And you can eat it with many different attitudes, okay? One attitude is, well, it's healthy and it's well made and I want it and it creates pleasure. So the other attitude would be, well, somebody made it, it's a project, yeah? It's a project of like, I think Arabs and Jews working together, I want to support it. So on top of the pleasure, you have the good motivation to go and buy it there. So this again is like skillful means or skillful ways of having pleasure. So the pleasure becomes useful. But also then you see the moment of wow. And then you start to explore that moment of wow. And you go like, okay, if I only have one kind in a big bowl like this, yeah? If you want to make the experiment, I give you the money. You say, no, I cannot do this, I don't have the money. So I give you the money to buy one bowl like this of Busa Glida. Then you start to eat it, and you're very conscious. Yeah, first it's like, oh, it's so good. Oh, it's so good. Oh. And slowly, that oh, it's so good starts to decrease. And if you don't stop in time, it turns into suffering. So now this is logic. This is, you have to use your logic and not your feelings. It feels like pleasure at the beginning. When you continue, at the end it's suffering. How can something that is pleasure turn into suffering, which is totally the opposite, by doing the same thing? You see, that would be again like saying, there is a seed for a white flower. If that seed continues, it will make a red flower. Pleasure and suffering is opposite, we agree, no? So how can something that is pleasure at the beginning, if you continue to do the same action that gives you that pleasant feeling, turn into suffering? How? Huh?
I think that in everything that you accelerate, in the end it will be suffering. So
yeah, but is it really pleasure at the beginning? This is why I'm saying. cream? In the ice cream? Where's the good ice cream? In the ice cream or where else?
Combination of the story, the taste, the environment, your read.
How much does it have to do with the ice cream in your story? Very little. Very little. But we put it all there. It's the ice cream. And everybody should feel the same. This is why people always want to make me eat ice cream. I don't like ice cream. It's too cold. For me, it's suffering if you take it.
Beautiful sweets.
Yeah, and I don't like chocolate on top of it. But these things can change. And they can change in a way when your mind becomes more relaxed. And when these negative imprints of attachment and aversion kind of even themselves out, all of a sudden you like everything. As a kid, I had a real problem with cheese. I hated cheese. It was for me, you would have given me caca, I think I would have preferred it. And for my father, cheese was heaven. And we liked each other very much. It was a very strong connection. And he could not understand that I would not eat cheese, that I didn't like cheese. You know, becoming a Buddhist nun was no problem. But his daughter not eating cheese, that was such a big problem for him. And I think you see the same pattern maybe also in your families, when your parents like something, and then you don't like it, and they try to convince you that this is good and heaven and the best. Can you relate to that? And they don't understand. And he would make me eat cheese. He would sit in front of me and look at me and go, ah, it's delicious, ah, it's delicious, and I would go like, and you know, when I wasn't under the control of my father anymore, somebody would give me a sandwich, even with a slight sliver of cheese inside, I would immediately spit it out. Impulsively, I couldn't avoid it. The moment my tongue kind of felt, it wasn't so much the taste, it was the texture. I just went flying. Now I can eat cheese, no problem. My best friend who knew it, he said, I don't believe you, have to prove it to me. And I can. I'm still not running after it, it's okay, but I can eat it, it's fine. So this karma exhausts itself like this when we stop exaggerating, when we start to become more equanimous. So there's nothing that I go like, wow, I really want that, except maybe for chips. But even with those, they opened a chip star in Firol in Tel Aviv, and I have to pass there almost every day. My big attachment is salty things, it's like chips and all these unhealthy things, full of fat. Oh, I love it. I can eat butter without bread, no problem. So again, it's not the thing outside, it's how the mind is. But until now, I was pretty untouched, but I haven't bought any yet. So I think it's okay. So it's so nice to feel free from all these likes and dislikes, and whatever is there is there. So of course, you won't have these wow feelings anymore, but you also don't have that bleh feelings anymore. So you get even. And for many people, that's frightening, because they think your life will get boring. Yeah, it will be less exciting, but it will be more calm. I'm more stable, I'm more sane, I'm more normal. Yeah, less fear. So it's really up to us. So how do you know, the thing with rebirth, of course, is difficult for some people to think that I have been on this mind has been in another body many times, and the same way as now we are creating imprints. We leave footprints, we leave traces behind you that we very often are not conscious about. And then sometimes, even if you just look at one lifetime, like, you know, Renat, is it okay I take you as an example?
Yeah, it's fine.
So you can say, no, leave me alone, they don't need to know what I'm doing. So she's working at the reception in Yechiam. So let's say, many people come, so of course she cannot remember every face. And maybe she's in a bad mood, which she never is. I mean, I've never seen her in a bad mood. So, but maybe something happens. Maybe she's sick, maybe she has a headache, maybe partner cheated on her, I don't know. So she's not such a good mood as she usually is. Somebody comes with a complaint, it's totally ridiculous, and she answers in a sharp way. that leaves a trace on her, because she has answered in a sharp way, and leaves a trace in this person. And the person goes back to his family, because now he is in a bad mood, and then he also starts to spread that bad mood. Then maybe 30 years later, Reinate's daughter, who looks exactly like her, is standing there at the reception, and this other kid comes, and somewhere in the subconsciousness that event is remembered, and the relationship already starts in a bad way. Have you ever met people where you felt totally comfortable with them, just like this? Or totally like not comfortable with them? You have no clue who they are? This is it. It's the subtle mind remembering things and continuing from where we started off. This is why, please, before you die, all the people that you dislike, try to bring that in order. Not to change them, but you dislike for them. Because otherwise you will meet them again. The knots will be tighter because karma increases. And you will meet them again and again and again and again. It will not be the same mind stream. It will not be the same people. But again, with the karma, the same type of people. How to do what? To resolve this conflict. By first not having contact with them, because it's too, if somebody has hurt you really badly and you're angry with them, if they're constantly in your face, you cannot work with the mind because it's agitated all the time. By accepting what happened has happened, it's the past. And by seeing what benefit is in there. Or even further, how can that what happened to me be of benefit to others? Yeah. For example, if you know what it means to be, I don't know if I can go into big things like that. I prefer to do this individually because I don't know who is sitting here and what has happened to me. But sometimes what has happened to you is too big to talk about it. Okay, me. I was an alcoholic. Okay? I was dependent on alcohol. I was a snobbish, rich alcoholic. I drank very good red wine and champagne. But I still depended on it. I had a restaurant, so therefore it was very easy to be an alcoholic because nobody wonders why there's always a glass of wine, or when you go to the nightclub, champagne in front of you, and brandy, cognac or armagnac. So, yeah, I know these things, okay? It was always quality stuff, it was expensive, I had the money to buy it, but I was depending on it. I kicked the habit before I became a Buddhist, so meaning I don't need any alcohol anymore at all. And also, by the way, I'm not a recovering I'm not a recovering alcoholic. I have recovered. I don't need it anymore. It's finished. I don't even want to be able to drink only one glass. I do not need alcohol anymore to relax my mind and have a good time. If my mind is not relaxed, I accept it. And it's okay, and then I let it go, and it goes. It's like everything else. I allow myself not to be well from time to time. That's fine. I allow myself to feel that fear that I always had. This is why I was drinking. I had fear, and I had anger. And the anger was always protected outside, that the world was unjust. I was fighting against the Vietnam War, and for animal rights, and this, and that, and smashing people's windows, who have nothing to do with the whole situation. And screaming and fighting and being angry and whoa, 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 whoa. Terrible. It didn't make any difference in the world. When I stopped eating meat, it didn't make less animals to be killed. Yeah. I just didn't want to be part of this killing anymore. That was it. I like meat. Still now. I like meat, but I don't eat it because I don't want animals to suffer. So anyway, so if somebody, and it's difficult, it's really difficult to let go of that habit. If somebody is in the process of giving up, and they go into a crisis, which they do, I can sit with them the whole night. Why? Because I understand what it means to be in such a state. If you don't know, then you just go, just stop drinking. nothing, it will be okay. You know, you talk like this to an addict because you don't know what it means to be an addict. Okay? If something big has happened to you and you're able to forgive, you become such a good therapist for these people because you know how it feels. And you will be an example that it's possible to forgive. A living example. You will be a living example that it's possible to change and to continue to have a happy life even though it happened. That's how it will benefit others. Otherwise, nothing happens. You're happy ever after in Switzerland, in your little house with your nice car and your nice garden and your nice doggy. And then you'll be happy and you die a happy death and that's it. Total meaningless life. Yeah? So forgiving is a big thing. Again, the view of karma. Do you think it will be easier to forgive when we know I created the cause? The mind in the past has created the cause. If I go on a bicycle, which I go very often, and I fall off, at whom do I get angry at? The person who made the bike? It's my responsibility. If I wouldn't have gone on the bike, I wouldn't have fallen off. I have a bad liver, okay? So I have two problems. I have a bad liver, and I like fatty things. That doesn't go well together, because I eat too many chips, I get a terrible headache and feel nauseous very quickly. So actually the bad liver is a good thing, because it stops me from eating all these oily things. Because I don't want the headache the next day. Okay? So whom do I make responsible for my bad liver? The people who made the wine and the champagne? I didn't have to drink it. Do you think it would be easier to not to blame others and to forgive? When you know you created the cause? Huh? Everybody says yes, full-heartedly? No. Not if you don't know karma really well and rebirth. Because then you, I deserve it. Isn't it? Because that's the thing, you see. When something bad happens to us, we feel stupid. Stupid that it happened to me. Because we think we could have prevented it. Excuse me, who do you think you are? You're not God, or Allah, or whoever. We're all vulnerable. We all make mistakes. So, if you would know now, if you would have known then, before it happened, what you know now, would you have been in that situation? No. So what's that a sign of what? Of ignorance. So why getting angry at yourself for being not knowing or being ignorant? You're not perfect. Part of the human condition, not to be perfect. Not to know. Not to know the future. Afterwards, it's easy to say, I shouldn't have gone there, I shouldn't have done that. Yeah? So then again, in order to be able to work with it, take these examples that I took. Because you don't see the cause. This is the thing. We don't see the cause that we created who knows when in the past. But with the bike, we see it. With the alcohol, I see it. If I start a fight with you, you're very nice to me. You look to me like a very nice man. So if I start to fight with you, although you're very, now let's take some time here. Micheline, where is Micheline? Is she still here? Yeah, okay. So she gave me my food and she gave me my drinks. Very kind. She's really looking, what does she need? No. But somehow, I don't like it. Oh, she's from Belgium. I don't like Belgium. They have better chocolate than the Swiss. I could come up with stupid things like that. Not consciously. This is the thing. If I have prejudices like that, then it's like, all of a sudden these emotions like dislike are getting created. So she's very kind to me. But I'm kind of, I don't need any. I can get myself, I can be like that sometimes. Just stop bothering me. Don't ask me all the time if I need something. Like this. If I react to her kindness like that, what happens with her? What happens with her? she changes her kindness towards me and stuff. What a stupid nun, this one. I thought the Buddhists were kind. Look at how she behaves. What is this? Yeah, and then she starts also, then I need something, and I say, hey, Micheline, hot water. And she goes like, go and get it yourself. Yeah. So now I have two ways of reacting to that. I can either say, oops, I started it by being unkind to her. That is the result. Or I can go on, hey, but I'm the teacher, and this is your job, and you should be kind to me. I could react like that. What do you think would, or I react like this and say, hey, I started it. I go and say, Micheline, I know. I'm really sorry the way I treated you. I don't know. Don't say, I don't know what happened. Just take responsibility. Just say, it was not right the way I started the connection with you. Can we start again? Can we try again? Do you give me another chance? Do you think that would be a wise way to practice? Would I be able to do that if I think, but I haven't started it, she started it? Would I be able to have this view of being able to very honestly go and say, I'm sorry, I started it? Huh? A lot of things to do. Yeah. So this is when you have the view of karma, then you can start like this. This other person who hurt me is just a condition, like the earth and the sun and the moisture for the seed. The seed my mind has planted. Now I have to be very careful not to plant more of these seeds. Yeah? Nor in others by abusing them, because you see the problem is, and that's the sad thing, that people have been treated badly by their parents. Very often they pass it on to their own children. And one doesn't understand why. With the view of karma you understand habit. You understand. Yeah? That's what you learn. This is what you pass on. And then these parents who had been abused in the past, they feel so guilty because they know how it feels. And the more guilt, the more horrible they become. So your job is to make sure that you have a happy mind. As a victim, as the aggressor, you need to have some regret, that's true, but not guilt. Also not to exaggerate. To have the courage to come out with it and say, yes, that's what I did. I don't know if you know confession. Do you ever use it? You should. Everything that is keeping you from having a happy life, everything that plagues you and you don't want to share with others, go and share it with somebody. It's so healing. Because guilt it also doesn't want the thing to be known. So it hides. And then there's the fear of it coming out. So then usually lies, denial, and all this. So by proclaiming it, fear is gone. With this fear of it coming out, you disconnect yourself from others because it's only by contact with others that it will come out. Then you start to feel lonely because connection is a human need. We need to be connected to others. Yeah? So then you can reconnect again and then you can have empathy for yourself, for what happened, and for the aggressor. Because actually, you see, the aggressor is in a worse state than you are. Because you as the victim, at least you get compassion. The aggressor doesn't get any compassion. He's opening the door for getting anger and rejection and judging and whatever. Quite honestly, if you can choose, now think, don't just like this. If you're in a situation, you can choose to be either the aggressor or the victim. What would you prefer? Huh? The victim. So why be so angry at the aggressor? Because you're in a better spot. Because also you as the victim, you can move away from the person. The person cannot move away from his guilty mind. And it's easier to work with anger towards the aggressor than towards guilt for something that you have done which is horrible. Yeah? So these are kind of thoughts that we start to work with. We're not working with the situation yet. We're only feeding the mind these kind of information. That's it. And then we allow the mind to start to work with it. If you apply it to your situation now, like then it becomes really big and the ego says, no thank you, go away. You know, this is too difficult, because it is difficult to work with these things, of course. And we always also want to work with the big things, and we don't work with the small thing about like the neighbor who throws the trash outside. You know, we're kind of clean. Let's say maybe you've been Swiss in your past life. So of course it's not just the house that is clean, but it's also all the surroundings, because we learn to pick everything up from the ground. When we go for a picnic, we take the garbage home with us. This is what we learned. We're not letting it lie there. So let's say you're like this, but your neighbor is not. We just had a talk to somebody the other day, like the people above, they throw everything out of the window. So then you learn to forgive them and say, wow, I could be like them. I'm not. Sometimes when you're very good at helping and working and you're volunteering and you do a lot of work, and you get angry at the people who are lazy sometimes, isn't it? But you could be like them. They're not lazy, they don't know how to work. There's no such thing as lazy people. They just don't know how to work. So then, again, you say, oh, if I had a choice to be the lazy one or the one who really likes to work, what would I choose? What would you choose? Huh? Work. Because it's so much more satisfying. It's so unsatisfying to be lazy. Lazy people, they always complain. They can never pull things through. They're very confused. They have so much problems in their life because they're weak. So don't judge them, don't be angry, then try to have some compassion. And if you're the lazy person, also have some compassion for yourself. Yeah, I don't have this mind like this other one who keeps like eating, who keeps running around, working and being happy at it. I don't have it. I wish I had it, but I don't. I keep forgetting things because now I'm getting old. I'm getting old. I'm not getting old. I am old. So I don't choose to forget things. I just forget it. So it's not very pleasant, so why should I make a big fuss about it? I don't choose it, I have no choice. And people kind of say, oh, why did you forget it? I say, well, I forgot it. I didn't do it on purpose. I also would prefer to have the mind I used to have, which could remember everything. I don't have it anymore. Can you give it back to me, please? And if you think your anger is helping, then yeah, you can continue to be angry at me. It's okay. Yeah, so like that. Many things, we judge in others. One thing we also have it, and the other, we don't have a choice. If we could choose, we would be wonderful people, but we can't. We have to work at it, but we can work at it. So I want to finish with something, and then you can ask all the questions you want. I talked about purification, so again, if you have something to write down. So these negative seeds that we have planted, you can do something with them through purification. And one would think, oh, I go and apologize and then it's finished. There is not as simple as that, unfortunately. Yeah? You see, you hurt somebody, and you go and say, oh, I'm really sorry, please forgive me. And you think it's enough. It's not enough, it's not fair. You hurt a person and then you want something back, kind of, please forgive me, please give me back my peace of mind. And this is some kind of agreement that this is okay. It's not okay. And your mind knows it's not okay, so it needs to be something more. So if you have hurt somebody and you go, I'm sorry, I know I hurt you, can I do something for you? That would be much, much more skillful. So I guess you all have certain standards. Do you? Of ethical conduct. Do you have a standard of not killing? Okay, then again it depends how small. Okay? So try to make it as small as possible. That's pretty safe. Not lying. You have a standard of not lying, isn't it? You have a standard of not doing sexual misconduct. Oh, I see less and less heads nodding. Do you have that standard? Do you want to hurt your partners with your sexual behavior? Yes or no? No. Okay, good. Not lying. Not stealing. Not create disharmony with our speech. We have that standard. Not using harsh words. Not having negative thoughts. Not being jealous and envious. This is the standard that we have. Now, do you know the question that comes now? Are you keeping up with your standards? Are you? Not really. So what do you do when you don't keep up with your standards? What do you do? Question. Well, this is not helping, I guess. If you just go like, does that help? Does it help? If we just go like, does it help?
Sometimes we don't see. We have.
No. We see. Sometimes, again, sometimes we don't see, but sometimes we do see.
We stop.
I think we can all clearly say we are not keeping up to our standards. Also, we demand these standards from others. And then we see it very clearly where every time they don't keep up their standards. Again, in others we see there's no problem. Every time their standard is not being kept up, yeah? And we expect something from them. Are we ready to give something when we're not keeping up our standards? So what's the first, it's actually good what you said, what's the first step when we see that we're not keeping up our standards? Huh? Recognition. Recognize. Because you see, our mind can be very, bye, enjoy the rest of the day, bye. You see, we have these standards, and then we're not keeping up to them. What do you think it does to the mind? Confusing. It creates confusion. We want to be generous, then there's two big boxes there, and we sneak out and we're not putting anything into it. One hand we feel happy that, oh, I didn't have to pay. You don't have to pay, by the way. Okay? Do not see this as a payment. This is wanting to contribute to be able to have these things happen again and again and again and again and again. Because if nobody contributes financially, it will stop. I'm being very happy that you can contribute to that. You see, we could have a financial system that would work wonderfully if everybody would say, I give as much as I can. Everybody would be happy. But if we have a mind, oh, I give as little as I can, it's not working. Because everybody, when it comes to the dana, the first mind that comes up is the poverty mind. It's not a mind that says, oh, good thing I put 1,000 shekel in my pocket today. I can give a lot. How wonderful. Good thing I have all this money with me now. It's like, oh, no, yeah. He says, again, it's not a happy mind. I'm not saying these things because I want to trick you into dana. I want to teach you, I would like to tell you how to give. If you give with an unhappy mind, it's not worthwhile. Keep the money in your pocket, much better. Then at least you can spend it. If there's dana, if people say, just give as much as you like, the mind has to be happy to give as much as possible, not as little as possible. That is not a happy mind. It's not skillful. It's not worthwhile the money you give, or if you give very little, if you give the minimum. And we all know we like to be generous. So again, it doesn't mean all of what you have. It means as much as possible. You know that somebody has to pay the same amount of money to bread that they buy that earns, I don't know how many shekel, like somebody with 5, 6 kids earns very little, and the bank director, that they have to pay the same amount of price for the bread. I think this is ridiculous. How can that system be okay? But the problem is, again, the poor people they say, yeah. The rich people they say, no, it's not fair. But also when they get the check from the salary, they're not saying, oh, it's not fair that I get so much money, because actually I made less effort than the people who were working down in the factory. They're not like this. Then it's very fair that they get this big check. So this is what, if we want to change the world, we have to start a little bit thinking like this, taking responsibility. What we take, we give what we can. Not what we have to. That's not happening. Yeah, so that's the balance. So the mind gets confused when we have, decided that we want to be generous, and then we never give anything. And even we're happy that we didn't have to give anything. It's like, then the mind goes, or we have decided to be honest, and then we keep lying all the time and cheating whenever we can. We have decided to be kind, but then we don't make any effort to be kind, only with the people that it comes easy. Yeah? So this is why we need to make an effort, so we need to see a little bit how it goes. So the first step, when we see that we have not lived up to our standards, is recognition. Oops, didn't live up. The next step is, you need to do something about it. Yeah? And then the next step is, you make a strong determination to be more mindful. And to put effort into transforming your habitual impulses or reactions. Then the karmic imprints gets kind of annihilated. Yeah, you hurt somebody with your speech. First you're not aware of it. Then we see the result. Then we can go into guilt and separate from the person. We don't want to know about them anymore. That's also not skillful. But like the example with Michelin, then I look back and say, oh, yeah, I was not kind. What I said was not kind. So we recognize it. Then the next step is, what can I do now? So we try to do an act that balances that negative act. And then, in order to cut the habit, we need to make a strong determination to say, hey, I have to be more careful. Then the negative karma can get purified. Now, that's the lay people's way of purifying. The Buddhist way of purifying is a little bit more specific. Yeah? First again, there's regret. You see what you've done is not living up to your standards. It's negative. It's unskillful, it's destructive. And we know that we have done many of these actions in the past. So, that's okay. We have done many of these negative actions in the past. So then we think again, what can I do about it? Then we take refuge and generate bodhicitta. Now for these people who have never heard that, we trust the Buddha's teachings that we are able to, one thing we trust that yes, now I have a negative imprint, and the other thing is we trust, yes, I can clean it, I can purify it, I can do something about this. We take refuge. Generating bodhicitta is a mind who says, I want to have a heart that is so open that it will be of benefit to all sentient beings. I want to have a mind that will never even want to harm others. Such a noble thought. And we don't need to choose. You see, if you say, oh, this yes and this no, it's complicated. If you say, oh, this, it's nice. And it's not something that you're not cautious with people that are out to harm you. You continue to be cautious, but you don't want them to suffer, you want them to be well. And it doesn't mean you lose the joy in your friends and all that. It doesn't mean that. Yeah? Everybody becomes your friend. You want all beings